And here we are.
Here we are.
It must be Tuesday morning again.
It is.
Because here's Fran and Liz. Good morning, everyone. Oh my gosh, I've been quilting my little fingers off. In fact, this thumb is real sore from stop, start.
Oh, there we go. Okay, we got sound, I think.
I got quilter's thumb.
I haven't heard of quilter's thumb before.
Oh, it's a real thing.
Oh, I'm sure.
No, sometimes people have to go in and have surgery to kind of release because I don't know what it is.
From the long arm or what?
No, from quilting. Just from regular quilting. But long arm, stop. And then the other thing is I have to hold my rulers down real tight. And you have to spread your hands like this. Oh.
You're getting your workout.
I might need something on my hands today.
Some cream.
Watch your mouth, Fred. I almost said it again, but this time I caught myself. Good morning. Oh my gosh, do you know what today is?
No, I don't.
Miss Lizzie, it's Education Day.
Oh, okay.
It's Education Day.
Cool.
It is. And did you do a video yesterday?
We did, and that was the first thing I wanted to talk about. Is if you didn't get a chance to watch the live yesterday, go watch it.
I haven't yet.
It's I got to interview Lynn, and we talked about all of his tiny things. Oh. And he's got a bunch of events coming up. So go watch the video from yesterday. Go comment if you have any questions. He's running a really fun contest, sponsoring a contest. So if you're interested in that and maybe winning a prize from him, you should definitely go check it out.
So what is the contest? Because I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. Tell me.
So he's created his new rulers, his new 2.0 rulers, and he needs some help designing packaging for it. So he's willing, if someone will design some packaging, he's willing to give them a set of rulers for free, which is a really good value.
Which is a really good deal.
So, and what we talked about yesterday was, if you can't design it, if you have a grandchild, a brother or sister who could earn that for you.
That would even be even better than you don't have to do anything on that.
Yeah, exactly. Nice. So, all the details are there in that video, and you can get with Lynn directly. Or actually, here in the store, we have kind of a paper with some details on it if you want to come pick that up of what you need to kind of know to create and design that.
To put on it. So, yeah, because you need to know some of the information, don't you? You can't just draw a cute little ruler and send it to him. Yeah.
So, probably someone with graphic design experience, but he also needs some other help. So if you have a graphic designer or know a graphic designer, he would love to get that information.
Oh, I wonder if Renee would be able to help him.
She might.
I've got to call her later on.
See if she wants to win a contest.
Saturday. I'm going to ask her if she wants to be a contest winner. I'm going to ask her that.
She might.
She does amazing things.
Anyway, so he's got 2 classes coming up that he's going to teach in June with his tinies. We've got the samples. We showed them on the video yesterday, but they're hanging up now in the store. And then he's going to start a mini club in June. And so anyway, we tell you all the details, but go watch. It's not too long.
So I'm so proud of him. So, Marcus has asked him to help Pam Buddha design fabrics, come up with patterns for her fabrics. So he's kind of on his way to, well, we've always thought of him as being a big deal around here, but other people are starting to really take notice. He's got people in Georgia. He's got people all over Utah that want him to come and teach his little tiny club. So we're really fortunate that we get to have him here.
That we're his roots, lucky. And he gets to be here with us, right?
Yeah. So he'll come in and, oh my gosh, and you'll notice this, I'm sure, from the video yesterday, because I know Lynn, he just gets so excited.
Oh, yeah.
He just is so animated and so excited talking all about his little tinies, and the man can quilt. I'm just going to say that.
And he's an excellent teacher, and he's really positive, and he
explains
makes you
really
think like you can do it.
Because you can. So here's the thing, and a lot of times tinies scare the living daylights out of people because they're small, and they think, oh, I can't do that. The coolest thing about Lynn's rulers is you oversize your pieces, and then you trim them perfect with his rulers. And so, yes, you can do them. And he is just right there to coach you and spur you on. He's just an amazing man. So we're fortunate to call him our friend.
Yes, we are. We are. So go watch that video. And I actually posted it to our YouTube page if you like to watch things there. So anyway, and he's going to get some of that stuff started for himself too. So we'll share all that information as soon as he's got that all ready to go.
So I have 2 fun things to tell you about our Facebook Live. So last week, our sweet Marianne from Florida.
Oh, that's right.
Was in the store. I got to have a long, and oh my gosh, we have so many connections. So, like, I knew that she was kind of from the Logan area, but I had no idea. So her sister, I've known her sister for, oh gosh, over 20 years. And it was just nice to put all the pieces together. So we had the nicest visit. It was so fun to see.
And she comments often on our videos.
She
so
does.
We really appreciate getting to visit. So when you come in the store, whether you're from Florida or from Brigham City, just say hi and say that you watch. And we love to know that people watch us, because otherwise we're just jabbering to ourselves.
And that's okay, because we make ourselves laugh. It's a great way to start off your day. So coming in the building, Mary said her grandson Jamie, that I think Jamie's 10 or 11. She said, Jamie said to his mom, "Oh, I've got to watch that Village Vibes. I got to watch Facebook Live tomorrow. Friends on Village Vibes. We've got to watch those 2 girls." So we have young.
We do. And my little guy, I mean, granted, we're pretty biased, but he's 7, but he's so impressed that I do all this, and that I post it to YouTube. That's the bigger thing. He doesn't care about Facebook. He cares that I'm a YouTuber.
Oh, you're a YouTuber.
So that's what he thinks is really cool. My little guy is so funny.
Oh, I love him. I always love my stories about our Ren. So I've known Ren since he was what, 2?
Probably.
He was just a little dude.
Yeah.
And the guy's got more personality in that little body. I mean, Liz is so lucky. All 3 of her kiddos are amazing. We love them all. They're kind of mine too.
I kind of, yeah, I'll share, but I kind of am biased. They're pretty darn cool.
They are amazing.
I love them.
Okay, so
we have a fun thing. Education, that's true. Education.
You know what I was thinking about this morning? I educate myself every day. Sometimes I say, okay, now, friend, what are you going to do today? Well, I'm going to get dressed, I'm going to brush my teeth, maybe comb my hair. That's all. Yesterday, I stayed home and I quilted all day. I didn't get out of my jammies.
That's exciting.
I didn't even get out of my jammies.
I need a jammy day.
Yeah. I need just a day
off. Yeah.
But it's a good thing that I love what I do. So today, and we kind of hinted about this last week.
Yeah, we did.
Chit chat.
Yeah.
We're gonna do all things half square triangles today.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's so many different fun ways to make half square triangles.
It's such a basic block that you see
almost every quilt.
It's pretty rare to have a quilt that does not have a half square triangle.
Almost every quilt. And so if you can come up with some easy ways to make, oh my gosh, there's a man at the window. Oh, there's a man. You know who that man is? It's our
Pause, please.
Pause, please. Pause, please. Liz has got to go check out. There's a very handsome man at our front door. I think he belongs to Liz. It's our Ken that we brag about. So yes, it's our fun Mr. Ken. He came probably to say hi to his wife. So here we are. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about half square triangles, because like what we just said, almost every single quilt, we're going to show you some quilts, and we're going to show you several different ways to make half square triangles. Did he just need to see you?
I had his phone in my car.
Oh,
I needed his phone. So
because we can't live without our phones.
I know.
Why? What do you do without them? I know.
I kind of want to go back to that some days, but
I do most days.
So what do we want to start with? Where do we want to show them first? Do we want to show them the quilts?
Yes, let's show them some quilts, because here's some perfect examples.
Well, this one, and I might have shown you this one before. This was my very first quilt that I made, if it counts as a quilt.
It does count as a quilt. It's got 3 pieces put together, right?
Yeah.
The front, the back, the batting. Yeah. It's got a binding on the side. It's a quilt. And
so there are some just single pieces, but most of this quilt is just half squares. And this was a charm pack. You just
perfect.
Drew the lines, which we're going to talk about in a second, and so you got a lot of a variety. And then it's just about color placement. So that's the thing I think with half squares is color placement.
Color placement.
So
and you can change the whole look of a quilt.
Oh, absolutely.
And I did not bring a magic wand back here, so
here, I'll show this quilt and you go grab one.
Okay,
is that fair?
That's fair. I like it. That's very fair.
So, but what I wanted to show, so this quilt I've shown you before, this is a Sunny Patches sew along that we did with Corey Yoder. It was free on her website. It's still available. We just sold our last kit like last week. But what I wanted to show you is, let's see if I can. This block right here is a large half square triangle, but one side of it is, oh, I can't do this on camera. One side of it is strip pieced. So it's a big half square triangle, but to add variety and interest, one side is got some strips on it. So it's just a variation of a half square, and then a lot of half squares kind of make this pinwheel effect a lot of times when you're putting them together. So anyway, this was a really fun quilt. The nice big blocks. I loved doing this one. And so I think this one has some fun blocks like this. And this was the so long. But honestly, I love the strip pieced half square triangles. I think you could make a beautiful quilt with a jelly roll and just have those strip pieced half squares.
What? You could have all of those stripes coming in or going out.
Yeah, and that would be fun to play with color placement, but also design and just kind of lay it all out.
And do you know what you could do with that? Crumb quilt.
Oh, good point.
I know. Once in a while, education here. You could sew all kinds of different sizes of strips together. Your seams then would not have to match, so you wouldn't be stressed out if they didn't. And you've got all of those strips going all kinds of directions. It could make a really interesting quilt.
For sure.
Really fun.
Do we want to do these next or like these?
Well, let's show those because while we're showing quilts, this is some more ideas.
I'm going to pull it out so you can see it a little bit better. These are kits that we have in the store right now, so you could buy these. But do you see this is
those are
just half squares. There's a little bit of variation to this one, but not much. The fabric is gorgeous. Can you see that
because
fabric?
You know whose fabric that is? Renee Nanneman. I love her
so
fabrics.
Pretty.
I know she does beautiful designs.
So we have this kit in the store right now. It's called Trade Winds, and it's available right now.
And our Lynn made the quilt.
It's beautiful.
It is gorgeous.
And then this one we have in the store right now. It's actually on sale.
It is. Oh, bargain.
And so this one has some
all those
star blocks,
triangles.
But I'm trying to get up. I think you can see.
The stars, come back over this way.
This way,
the stars are wool on ours and the little half circles, but all of the piecing, those are all half square triangles, and I think they're just pretty amazing.
Color placement. Do you see how all those lights are down? And so then it really adds up. So anyway, these are just things that we have available now.
And so we just wanted to show you a couple of different ideas of half square triangles in different quilts. You know, we've got a jacket in here right now. It's called the Tamarack.
That's true.
It's called the Tamarack jacket. And the gal that made that used quilt blocks in it. And those quilt blocks, again, half square triangles. I think you would be amazed. I almost think there are very, very, very few quilts. I'm just looking around at some of the ones that we have in here. I think there are very few quilts that don't actually have half square triangles in it. So we would like to show you some kind of maybe easier ways to make some. So, you know, the traditional way. Okay, so if you are a perfect piecer.
I'm not
either.
Take me off that list.
I'm not either. I say let me oversize and trim down. So the perfect math. So let's say that you wanted to have a 1-inch finished. What size would you cut your squares?
1.5.
1 7/8 is the correct answer. So because if we want that finished, we're going to trim it down to 1.5.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So the perfect math would be 1 7/8. I don't want to cut 7/8.
I don't want to cut 7/8. Even if I am a perfect piecer, I don't want to cut 7/8 of anything.
No. And so that's for a whole size. If you wanted it to be 1.5 inches, finished, then it's
5/8. Oh, 3/8.
It's stupid 3/8, which is don't do that. So if it's a whole number that I'm going to finish it to, I will bounce it up to the next number. So instead of 1 7/8, I will do 2 inches. If it's 1.5 I want it to finish, then I'm going to bounce that up to 2.5 inches.
Okay, so that's pretty easy math.
I'm going to add an inch.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to add an inch instead of 7/8. That's stupid. So the traditional way is if you're just making, if you just need a couple, you would take 2 2-inch squares, right? Whichever colors you're putting together for your half squares. Now I will show you my very favorite ever
so we can show
tool.
Oh,
you know
yes.
This is?
Yes. We need. This is something, it's pretty mandatory for me.
For sure.
That and, oh, you know what? A sandpaper board.
Absolutely. When you're drawing lines, I have a tip for you on that though.
Oh, okay.
So let's say that I want to draw my lines on here and I've matched up my fabrics and I'm laying on my sandpaper board. Guess what's still going to happen?
It's still going to slip
around.
My top
piece is going to slip around. So just take your pieces that will be your top ones and do those first. Now, I have another tip. If you sew with your light up, you cut that apart. Guess what?
What?
It helps to turn your pieces to the dark. Now, not so much if you're doing individuals. I'll show you another one that's a better example of that. But, okay, so pretend that I've got my sandpaper board down here. I am going to take this lovely magic wand, and I am going to use that laser line that's right in the center. Yeah, you can kind of see it. Yeah, I think they can see that. And I'm going to put that from corner to corner. And then I'm going to draw my line on both sides of that with just a plain old Bic mechanical pencil. Those are your stitching lines. Yeah, you want something, you don't need to use a friction pen, that's expensive. But also, you don't want to use a regular pencil because it's not going to be sharp enough. It doesn't stay sharp for very long. Unless you want to sharpen that thing after every single line. Yeah. I don't want to do that. When the school pencils go on sale, buy you a bunch and keep them in your sewing. Big, huge 48 pack. Then they'll last you till next year forever. Or maybe longer. My kids steal mine though, so they don't last me for very long. I don't have kids around anymore that steal mine. They used to. One day. One day that will be my lot, but that's not my lot today. It's true, but not today. I lost my pin somewhere. Don't jab yourself with it, because somewhere on this beautiful quilt that's down here, also with half square triangles, there's a pin. But we're not gonna worry about it right now. Okay, so once I've got my lines drawn, I'm gonna stitch on both sides of my line. Now, generally, I will stitch just one click in from that drawn line. It just gives me a little bit more wiggle room. Once I've got that drawn, then I'm going to cut it in half right in the center of those two drawn lines, right? And then I'm going to flip it. And when you're all done, look at that. Yep. You got a half square. You got a half square. So any of these methods gives you at least 2 that we're going to talk about. Yes, at least 2. So that's the traditional way of, and let's say you maybe only need 2 for whatever you're doing. I would always just do it that way. And maybe even if I only have 4, because otherwise probably that way would be my very best. Oh, I have to show you these. Speaking of little teeny tiny stuff, when I was digging in my half square triangle drawer, I came across these. Now these are Lisa Bonjean's papers, and look at, I hope you can see and appreciate how tiny those are. So this is kind of like a triangle on a roll. It's that same kind of a concept. They're just very teeny tiny. Half-inch finished. They're real little. And they look kind of weird. They look more like a rectangle, don't they? I agree. But they're not. When you get those cut and you're But you know what? There's only an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance on there. Ooh. But if you're doing half square blocks, you don't want a whole lot more than that. That's very true. Good point. If you had your regular 1/4 inch seam allowance, you would be edge to edge on that, and that could start to get kind of hard to sew them together. So this is, like I said, these. Oh, I got to get it going the right direction. Primitive Gatherings, Lisa Bonjean, and she has these in lots of different sizes. So that's just one that I had for a project that maybe someday I might do. So maybe. I guess let's back up 1 minute. So you kind of need to look at your pattern, see how many half squares you need and how many variations you need. Right. Do you need a lot of the same color? Do you need the same background with different colors? So you kind of just need to step back and probably your pattern. I mean, there are definitely some patterns that will have these methods, but your pattern is probably going to
tell you to do something
this.
like this. So it's going to tell you to cut 62-inch squares so that you can get 120 half square triangles. So if you ever see something like that, take a step back and think, okay, what other tools do I have?
Yes.
And can I do this easier, smarter, faster, more accurate? And then you would put into play some of these.
So like the one quilt that you showed us that had the stars in there, that is a perfect candidate to do half square triangles out of any of these methods that we're going to show you. And you could, okay, when you've got 55 million, I could cut, now this is triangles on a roll. Let me show you this one because it's already all pinned on.
But so, they come like this. They come in
a
a roll.
That's why they're called triangles on a roll, right? Ta-da, ta-da. Okay, so let's say I only wanted 8, maybe, and we'll show you another great way for that. But then I could take this and I could cut myself some pieces that are just this size. And then by the time you've got that many triangles in there, you are never going to notice that you've got 8 that are the same.
Right.
In that big of a quilt. So I will do this method. If I've got to do anything with a lot of them, I will always do a method where I'm getting more than just those 2 at a time.
I agree. And they have half square triangle or triangles on a roll in I think size. Almost every size.
I think so. And some huge ones.
And these are just ones that I have, and honestly, I've had these forever. And even though I use them, you know, well, first of all, I have to remember that I have them.
Oh, that's well.
But
that's
these ones are 4-inch finished. These ones, I think these are the ones you have right there. 2-inch finished.
Yep.
2-inch finished. So anyway, you can find those in any size that you need.
You can. So I'm going to show you how this triangles on a roll works. So you cut however many you need. Now, here's a trick. You want to know how I learned this trick?
You did it wrong?
I teach myself all the time. So years and years ago, Colleen, myself, and Jennifer that used to work with us, we were going to make this beautiful blackbird quilt, right? I sewed half square triangles until my fingers bled. And then I started cutting them apart and I went, oh, I have double what I need. Because I forgot that from each of these squares,
you get 2.
I forgot. So
did you make 2 quilts?
No, I didn't even finish the first one. It's still sitting in there. One day. It is a beautiful quilt, so maybe one day. So what you do is you give yourself a little bit of extra fabric, and you don't have to give yourself a lot over the seams, over the solid outside lines, but give yourself a little bit of wiggle room on there. And then the cool thing is you can see those arrows. You just sew in the direction that the arrows are going until you've got your whole piece sewn. Now here's my best tip for using triangles on a roll. If you put light side up to the paper, when I cut this apart and go to press it, it's automatically going to go to my dark side. Now, I don't take my paper off before I press it.
Oh, okay.
Because that's bias. And sometimes in pressing, we can stretch.
That's true.
Okay, but if you've got your paper on there, you're not going to stretch anything.
It's going to stabilize it.
It's going to stabilize it. So I cut all my pieces out, leave my paper on, press it to the dark, then trim it up, pull the paper off.
Yeah.
Isn't that a good tip?
Yeah.
It's
a great tip.
Day.
It's a great tip.
It's an education day. So like Liz said, triangles on a roll come in every single size. I do have a little plastic bin full of 1 million of these because look how much is still left. I mean, they last a really long time.
I mean, unless you're making an entire bazillion quilt with one particular size, I can't even imagine using this whole
lot of. So the smaller the size, the more triangles it has on the roll.
That's true. That's true.
So if you're going to use it, you make a great big one.
It's a little bit of an investment, so you just buy the one that you need for that particular quilt. But then we've got something else. Or
you buy this.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the cool thing about this little triangulations program. And I mean, it makes quarter squares, half squares. It even makes flying geese.
Flying geese and tame flying geese. I think that's really fun. I've used that several times.
I love this program. The only thing about this program is it is a disc. Now, and we know me. I don't do. I can run this program. You just okay. Here's a tip on if you're doing this. Don't just hit print because it will print everything. It will print everything that's on it. So you have to just make sure that you print the page, print to actual size, and you can just print one page. So let's say you only needed, it depends on what size it is,
Right,
and how
right.
many you get on your full page. But let's say you only needed a few. You don't have to invest in a whole roll of triangles on roll. So that's the beauty of this one. But you do have to have a CD player in your computer, or you do what Stan did for me. He bought me just a little player that sits by my computer. I can plug it in, pop this in. I do love this program because look, this is all the room it takes up in my. But I have all these other half square triangles, so I have to use those
Well, and
first.
the advantage to this is, I mean, this can go as long as you want your fabric to be cut.
Yes.
So,
but be careful. If it's, you don't want to don't make it too long, because then you end up kind of fighting with your paper, unless you've got it pinned really well. Because otherwise you end up kind of fighting with your paper and it could slip around on you a little bit. So don't make them 3 yards long.
Yeah. Well, and that, I think that kind of weights fabric anyway. But you don't want to go too long. But if you don't have a disc player, you can go to Triangulations and just buy a download.
Oh, you can? See, I don't do that.
See, and I had the disc. And then I didn't have a player. So then I went and bought the download because I really needed it.
You did, or you could have just bought a CD player and then you could play your music while you were sitting there too.
Yeah, I don't do that.
Oh, you don't do that?
Well, I just play it on my Alexa.
Oh, because Alexa, she's smart and she'll play.
She plays my music and my audiobooks.
Yeah, I don't use my CD player but I do use it for here. I love
That's a great program. We have that here in the store.
It is a really good
and all sorts of options.
But we want to show you another option for making half square triangles. So we did this in our second Saturday. We did this, and I'm going to see if I can get that in a decent place so you can watch.
I think so.
And I forgot to do the math part of this. I guess I'm not as prepared as what I thought I am. But this is a 4-inch square that we started on here, and this is going to give us 8 1-inch finished half square triangles when we're done. So really, that's our extra inch. So I know Lynn told me one time what the math was. You multiply your size times something and then add a little bit more, but I don't remember what the math was. We should do some research. We'll find this out for you. But this one here will make 1-inch finished. Now, if you can see this little line that's around that, there is not a whole lot of trimming and wasting that you're doing on this. But what you do is you take 2 squares that are the same size and you draw a double X. And again, I used our magic wand. Yep. And those are your sewing lines. Okay. Now, I would sew just one line in between, but only just one thread. I mean, in between, only one. Okay, so now I've got these, all 4 of those lines are all sewn. Then you're going to take your ruler. Now on ours, because it's a 4-inch square, I need to divide that in half. So half of 4 is 2. Very good. It is Education Day. So I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to lay it over here on the outside edge. Now, if you're left-handed, you can do it over here. It doesn't matter as long as you are doing exactly 2 inches from either side there. So you are actually coming straight through the center of that X, straight through. Then don't move your piece. You're going to now measure it again, either from the top or from the bottom. You're going to come up another 2 inches and you're going to sew right there again, going straight through the middle of that X. Now, still don't move don't move it. Now I'm going to cut this apart. So now I'm going to come here and I'm going to cut it on both of these lines in both of those directions. When I've got that cut that way and that way, again, I'm not going to move it. I'm going to leave it alone. And now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to cut in between my sewn lines. So I've got it all marked. I've got it sewn in both directions. I've got it cut in both directions. Now I'm going to come through and I'm going to cut it again. I'm going to press that to my darker one again. Now, maybe whatever you're sewing, maybe you need to press it to the lighter one.
Which happens.
So it does happen.
Sometimes
so be aware.
It's not my preference. And if I get to pick, I'm not going to pick that. But sometimes there is a method to the madness of why they want you to do that.
And sometimes you might even have to press it open.
That's true.
So pay attention to your pattern and see. But in this case, we pressed it to our dark, to the navy, and then I take my little ruler and I mark. I do use my 45-degree diagonal line so that I make sure I'm not having this piece larger than this. But you can see there's very, very little that I'm trimming off from that. So now I'm going to take all 8 of my little pieces. I'm going to trim them all up, and when I'm done with just those 2 squares, I have 8 perfect half square triangles.
Now they all will be the same, obviously the same color. Yes. So sometimes you don't need 8 of the same colors, but a couple of things I wanted to mention. Where do I want to start? In trimming up, some rulers that we have, you trim up before you press open. So that's one thing to pay attention if you've got a ruler. And sometimes I have a ruler that will cut off my dog ears at the same time as I trim it up. So that's almost a whole nother section of trimming up, right?
Oh, we could. Where's your pad and paper? We need to write down more notes for Educational Day again.
So if you're ever just doing 2 half squares, I'm not in frame. We're going to back up a little bit.
Get in here,
there we go.
Liz.
If you're ever just doing 2 squares and you do have directional fabric, this is a good place. You would want to do one line this way and one line this way, and that would give you 4 half squares where the direction of the fabric would all be going the correct way if you're putting it around in a block.
So here's what Miss Liz is telling you, and we've kind of done this all the way along in our second Saturday because we've used some stripes.
We've done this a lot.
So let's just say here are our 2 squares. This is what she's telling you to do. See how this one is going from the top into the center? This one is going from the center out to the top. So they're opposite directions. And if you do that, say we're making a pinwheel block, perfect example, where we need those 4 pieces. If we sew our pieces like that, all of our stripes are going to be going in the same direction, whether it's up and down or sideways. Or not even necessarily stripes. If you've got a directional
just any directional fabric.
Any directional fabric.
And fabric's tricky. Sometimes it's directional and you don't know it was directional.
And then you put it in your block and you do like Fran and you say, oh, I can't do that. I have to unkick and redo.
Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. It depends how directional it is. And it just depends on the block. Sometimes you need them going all in the same direction. So you just have to pay attention to that a little bit. But if you get in the habit, if you have 2 of just going from
whether it's directional or not, right?
Of just doing that. Now this way, doing it this way, it automatically does it for you.
It does.
So that's really cool. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is there is a method out there of putting 2 squares together and sewing all the way around the outside and then cutting it off. That does give you half square triangles. But that means when you cut it apart, you've got all of those bias edges all on the outside. Now this has you sew the bias edges. So there is that method out there. I know some people use it and maybe people have success. I don't think I personally have done that method.
I tried it.
Yeah. Well, it's worth trying, I guess.
It is. But, give it a try. You just have to be really careful when you're sewing those half square triangles into your block or wherever they go, that you're not stretching it, because bias is so easy to, even if you don't think you are, it's really easy to stretch.
Well, and that's why I think almost any pattern I've seen, they don't have you cut this apart and then sew it. They have you sew it and then cut it apart, and that's the reason why, is you're corralling the bias. Right? And you're keeping track of it. So, and there's probably, I don't know, 100 other methods that we haven't even talked about today.
At least for half square triangles.
How people want to do it. So,
but those are just a few of our favorites that we do over and over and over again. So, like I said, my best tool.
Yeah. I have that always handy.
This is probably my very most used specialty ruler.
Yeah, I would say so.
Because I use it for half squares, quarter squares, flying geese, turning toads into princes. But I'm still working on that.
I did one time try cutting against it. That's too tiny. Don't do that.
Liz, you chop off parts of your fingers if you don't.
So it's not a cutting ruler. It's just a tracing ruler. But I have I have a little drawer set thing right next to my machine, and I keep this and my sandpaper board just
just
sitting right there all the time because I am always grabbing it. And we talked about having your light on the top. I put my light on the top typically because that's the side I mark on because I can see it better.
You can see it better.
You don't have to mark on that side. You might
so this one. See that's pretty light on the red side too.
That would
so
be
it really
okay.
wouldn't make
the
any
blue
difference.
even's not that bad.
Yeah, right. Some fabrics are really dark on the back side, and if you can't see your lines,
in which case you may want to mark with a white pencil or something. If you have to mark on a dark fabric, you could, or even chalk or something. But yeah, I typically put it on my light.
On your light, me too. Me too.
Yeah. Okay.
So, well, I wonder. I would like it if people would comment about some of their favorite ways. Of making
is there a method
too?
that we didn't talk about today that you love to do?
Yes.
I don't think we've got any comments yet. I have a few people watching. I see Janice is watching. Hi, Janice. Janice and I got to sew together on Friday.
Did.
We made some good progress. We had a good day together. So I helped her with her second Saturday blocks. And I got to work on a few of my second Saturday blocks that I just hadn't quite finished up, just barely.
Good for you.
It was a good day to sew together. I like to sew with people.
It is fun.
It's really fun.
It is really fun.
So
even if you're doing it a Zoom one or Facebook, Donna and I a lot of times will bounce on our iPads and sew together. That's kind of a fun
It works really good.
That.
Some people can't handle it. I mentioned that my friend and I tried to just sew like that, and she could not handle it because she wanted to watch the conversation. Where it's kind of background noise, and we just chit chat, and every once in a while you say, "Look at this," and then look at it. But
she didn't like it.
She didn't like it. She's too attentive. She's too awesome. I'm super good at ignoring people.
People say that about me too. Attentive? Well, I'm not sure what that word even means. No. Okay. Well, that was education.
That's it. And we've talked for, I think, long enough. We have to talk about our plans for next week, but we'll get it all figured out.
Yes, we will. And we hope that we taught you something kind of fun today, because like I said, so many half square triangles and so many quilts, and anytime you can make it a little bit easier, do that. Now, if you have a kit, you're going to have to watch kind of what size fabric they've given you to know if you could use any of these methods. Because if it's a strip, you may not be able to do 8 at a time, or even, well, you probably would still be able to do triangles on a roll. You just have to cut them like this, which you could do, but I don't know. Anyway, so pay attention to what kind of fabric you have, if it's a kit, or if you're doing scrappy ones, look and see what size pieces of scraps you might have that you might want to sew in there. And you could make 2 at a time, 4 at a time, 16, 20, 50.
I think one of the things I saw somewhere is I think they cut these apart in like a square. So this would be, I don't know, maybe a 4-inch block. How big would this be? 2.5, 6-inch blocks or something. Anyway, after every project that she did for the year, she just made one set of these half squares. And so she got 8 half squares out of just 2 squares of her scraps from her project. And then she put them all together and then had, could do a funny scrappy quilt, but kind of a memory quilt of these are all the things that I did this year. Wouldn't that be kind of fun?
Yes.
So, and super quick, super simple, especially using triangles on a roll.
Right.
And you really, hopefully, would probably have 2 squares this size out of your scraps. You probably would.
No. Maybe.
Something. So I think it'd be fun. There's a million ideas. So tell us all your half square ideas and your methods, and we'd love to hear it. And we'll be here next week.
We will. Same time.
Jabbering away.
Laughing at ourselves because, we are entertaining for our own selves. We know how to make each other chuckle.
We definitely do.
We kind of do. So until next week, then we should say goodbye.
Yes, we should.
So take care of yourselves. Remember that 5-10 rule again. We tell you that every week, and it's so important. So have a great week. Watch your trigger thumb.
Take care of your body, because we need our tool.
We need this tool, right? So take care, everyone. Have fun this week, and we'll see you next week.
We will.
Bye.
Goodbye.
For now.